Welcome to Authentic Self-Love. I'm Jerry Kate. Practicing authentic self-love is a powerful way to build self-confidence. Authentic self-love. First, let's define authentic in this context. Authentic. Authenticity. Authenticity means you're true to your own personality, values, and spirit, regardless of the pressure you're under to act otherwise. You're honest with yourself and with others, and you take responsibility for your mistakes. Now let's unpack some of the confusion about self-love. Have you ever heard or wondered about the following statements or questions? You have to love yourself before you can love someone else, or you can't give it away if you don't have it. How do we even know that we love ourselves enough to love others? What about loving yourself too much? Is that possible, and what does that look like? What's the difference between being self-absorbed and self-love? Or conceited? If you love yourself, that's conceited. Have you ever heard that one before? Okay, let's breathe and shake that off. Let's dive into a deeper perspective, knowing that to love, we radiate from our own vibration of love. We get to experience love from the level of vibration that we are radiating out and the level we are open and receptive to receiving. Okay, let me say that again. We get to experience love from the level of vibration that we are radiating out and the level we are open and receptive to receiving. How can we grow our ability to love ourselves when we have the idea that we don't love ourselves at some level? Many of us struggle with this idea of loving ourselves even after years of therapy and trying to work through our own blocks to love. Lack of self-love. Let's talk about that. Our lack of self-love might show up in a variety of ways. Many of us know this pattern of putting others first and not seeing to our own needs. Perhaps it's a pattern of overgiving. We might be watching for signs from others to feel valuable or validated, to see if we are loved or wanted. Maybe we are looking outside of ourselves for permission to be ourselves, to be who we truly are. Perhaps we're looking for signs from others that we are important or worthy. In the face of even the slightest disappointment, we shrink and disappear ourselves and show up with others in a more contracted version of ourselves. This contraction can happen in a moment without us even realizing we're doing it. And think about a time when you were in a group of people and somebody said something, or even just with one other person, and they said something and you felt it was like a punch in the gut. You know, it just like, oh, it made you feel insecure. And that's what I mean by a contracted version of yourself. This quote is from Catherine Woodward Thomas, and I'll speak a little more about her because I'm sharing some of her concepts in a moment. Self-love is the critical foundation for being able to experience satisfaction and deep love with anyone who matters to us. See, we were talking about loving yourself and being able to love others. So I'm going to say it again. Self-love is the critical foundation for being able to experience satisfaction and deep love with anyone who matters to us. So you got to love yourself. Much of the frustration we experience in realizing our true potential is us bumping up against our own limitations, lack of confidence, or our own insecurities. These are from the disempowered relationship we learned when we were young. That relationship is limiting our ability now to love with an open heart. It's also limiting the amount of love we can receive in our lives. The definition of self-love is different than doing things like getting a massage or pedicure or shopping. We're talking about a fundamental relationship with ourselves. It's a relationship that takes active participation, respect, trust, honesty, understanding, and love. The following are notes from Psychology Today. Without the foundation of a solid sense of self, we are unable to take the risks and make the decisions necessary to lead a fulfilling, productive life. A low self-esteem can erode our love life, careers, family bonds, and more importantly, our internal sense of well-being. A high, stable self-esteem, on the other hand, contributes to problem-solving abilities and the assertiveness to achieve what psychologist Abraham Maslow called self-actualization, a continuous desire to fulfill potentials and to be all that you can be. A strong self-esteem actually creates a type of self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you like yourself, the more you begin to act in likable ways. The more that you believe that you are able to achieve something, the more likely it is that you will. Okay. Authentic self-love, the foundation for manifesting your dreams. Pay close attention. See if you can find new ways of showing up in your life. Self-love, authentic self-love, 3 building blocks. According to best-selling author Catherine Woodward Thomas, in loving yourself or self-love, there are 3 building blocks to help you cultivate greater levels of self-love. Number 1, let me just say them first. Self-clarity, self-compassion, and self-care. Number 1, self-clarity. The ability to know who you really are, to be aware of the false beliefs you cultivated from your childhood, the beliefs that you made about yourself and about what others think about you. These assessments were created in a response to a trauma or acute situation, an event or series of moments or milestones that were missed. It's important to understand and differentiate between the false beliefs and be able to recognize the deeper truth. Self-clarity is the ability to see what is really true. Self-love is the ability to wake yourself out of the assumptions of these false beliefs. Second building block, self-compassion. The relationship we have, the preconscious value and knowing of our own worth, unconditional acceptance, unconditional positive regard for yourself. Psychologist Carl Rogers said that self-compassion is unconditional positive regard. No matter what, when you feel unjudged, it creates a sense of safety to stand for your own deeper truth, to stand for your own humanity, and have deeper understanding and acceptance of your own imperfections. The difference between self-compassion and self-esteem. Self-esteem is earned. Being able to assess our value by socially getting feedback on the value of our offerings. Self-compassion has to do with this unconditional positive regard. It's self-affirming and life-affirming. Self-care. The third building block is self-care. Think of it as the evidence or expression of self-love. Care is the currency of love. It has a lot to do with making sure you're well enough to give to others, and make sure you are feeding your heart and soul so you have it to give to others. And I'm thinking of, it reminds me of Lisa Nichols. She's an author and motivational speaker, and she talks about, I want to feed others from my saucer, not from my cup. In other words, I want my care for myself to be overflowing, and feed others from your saucer. I love that. Or if you're on an airplane and the oxygen bags drop, you're instructed to take oxygen first and then tend to your child. Otherwise, you won't be there for the child, right? So, self-care. Something to remember is that loving yourself is a fluid activity. As you notice an area where you need to open up and learn, you can do this without being harsh on yourself or self-shaming. It's important to have deep and healthy relationships with ourselves in order for us to have really meaningful and great relationships with others. Imagine your relationship with yourself as self-encouraging, life-affirming, and foundationally positive, so that we are able to nourish ourselves and afford us the tools so that when we move into a fear-based place, we can self-soothe, course-correct, and nurture ourselves with positive feedback when we make a mistake or get frightened. It's the internalized good mother. And if you didn't have these characteristics from your own mother, perhaps it's the internalized critical mother. These good mother skills and ways of being can be cultivated. The three building blocks of authentic self-love: self-clarity, self-compassion, and self-care. If you found this video to be valuable and you want some help applying these strategies, then go ahead and scroll down below the video and fill out the short form. This form is designed to help me know a little more about you and what might be in your way. Then we can schedule a call to explore how or if I can help you. So go ahead and scroll down. I'm Jerry Cates, the Courage and Grace Coach. Courage is the strength to face adversity, emotional pain, and the unknown. And grace is the spirited freedom that arises from living in harmony with yourself.